This is Radio 4.
It's 9:05 and nearly done.
My name is Matthew Salyers, raced in the 2013 King of the Hammers Everyman Challenge in the 4634 Red and Silver Cherokee.
My name's Frank Minice, Undertaker's Racing, car 1918 in the UTV race.
Jeremy Hammer, car number 97.
Alan Johnson, 4511.
Ryan Miller with Wayland Campbell in the number 3.
My name's Rob Finelli. I am the crew chief.
I'm not good with interviews, so.
Well, King of the Hammers, somebody told me about it, and my last name's Hammer, and I said, well, they're having a race without me? Where's my check? I mean, some sort of royalty from this thing, and I've seen dime zero.
King of the Hammers to me is literally the holy grail of off-road racing.
King of the Hammers, it's everything.
I gotta be there, and if it's the hardest race out there, that's the one I want to be at.
It is the hardest race in the United States. Yes, there are hard races such as the Dakar, the Baja, etc., but inside the States, literally a state away from us here in Arizona, that is the hardest race that anybody can try to go out and do.
Everybody says it's the hardest one out there. Arguably it is. I still have yet to complete one in time. If they didn't do it by time, I'd finish every year, but put that pesky 10 o'clock on you.
I've spent, since I pretty much started racing, working up to the point to be able to drive in the King of the Hammers.
I'm taking something that my friends and I, we do every weekend for fun, and turning it into a sport.
King of the Hammers is anticipation. King of the Hammers is looking forward to graduation, or looking forward to prom, or looking forward to your wedding day. The whole rest of the year, quite frankly, is just prep for King of the Hammers.
The most memorable experience for me for the week at KOH, I'd say, is just the team working together. My team, they put in all kinds of hours, nights and days and weekends, work day and night, and just seeing everybody work together, not just our team working together, but working to help other teams. We helped other teams, everybody was in it, not only competing against each other, but we're competing against the Hammers.
You know, I'm an Undertaker from the Arizona Undertakers, and we spend pretty much the whole week there. So our role there is to support them, and on Saturday morning, loading up for the race at 4 o'clock in the morning when it's 12 degrees out and the wind was blowing, and knowing that our chances this year to put it down were pretty good.
Just everything. You go out, you pre-run, you practice, tune on the car a little bit, go back and do things that you wanted to try again.
During the week at KOH, we had a car that had never been driven. We just completely rebuilt the car over the summer/winter. Lots of guys in the shop making that happen. Picked up a lot of sponsors during that time, so we had a completely redesigned suspension, new cooling system. The car had never been run, so we got on the lake bed, and ADS, our sponsor, took care of us with the shocks, got them all tuned in. So just the 2 days leading up to the LCQ of getting that car dialed in, it was head and tails above the year before. We gained 50 miles an hour in the whoops.
The first year of Everyman Challenge, everything went so fast. It was unbelievably fast. You blinked and it was gone. So this year I got to enjoy it so much more. The bonfire, the meeting with friends, and it was a group experience. It was family. We were all out there together. So we had great bonfires at night. We're renting on the car all night long. We're pre-running during the day. But just that group thing, the fact that we were all together, it was a family racing. Even though none of us were related, we were still a family. That was the most significant, memorable part of the week. The race just kind of blew by.
Just everything. I don't think there is a simple way to describe the feeling of King of the Hammers. You have everything from last chance qualifier, tech, leading tech, running around, late night shenanigans. There's just always something going on and always something to do. 1 minute you could be working on your vehicle, and the next minute you could be out pre-running. So it just varies. Just that whole entire week is just something you would have to experience to truly understand what it means to be at Kingdom Hammers.
Well, at the start line, I actually wasn't sitting in the car. Pretty funny with what played out later in the day. Shannon was on the radio and was yelling at me to run up to the start line because Dave said he was starting the race in 2 minutes and he couldn't get his GPS working. So I jumped out of the car and ran up through all the cars. We were 15 rows back and turned his GPS on. And I wasn't even back to our car yet, and the race had already started. So I really didn't have much to think about then. It was just pretty much, we were getting settled in the car ourselves. And Shannon called on the radio, and I ran up there and took care of it for him. And by the time I ran back, it was get strapped in because we're getting ready to go.
And you've done everything to prep. You've worked on the car. Your friends are there. You thought of every scenario. You've got the pit strategy. You're at the line. The flag drops. And I did my biggest fear. I got lost right off the line where everyone could look and see.
Our strategy, I'm a rock crawler, so our strategy, even in the UTV race, was to overbuild the car, get it ready for the rocks, and we were going to keep the car together in the desert and win the race in the rocks.
Well, when we took off the start line, obviously the biggest thing is don't get tangled up with the car next to us. And we got a clean jump, and we took off, and it was hammer down from there.
So once I got over that embarrassment of I looked like an idiot driving around out in the desert, just completely settled down and trusted the car. Jeff Larson, my co-driver, called an absolutely wonderful race. And once we hit the desert, we were super comfortable. We passed 3 or 4 cars on the lake bed. That's my favorite part, quite frankly, is just passing people.
Cleared the mountain, and went around the back door. We hit the dry lake bed and we were off.
Everybody was kind of all ready in the race, and now I'm jumping in the car and I had my jitters, and we went right to back door, of course. I hit back door, and we launched to the right, probably 6 feet, and we're teetering on rolling backwards. And Sam, my co-driver, said, "Well, you want to end it now, or you want to pull rope?" And everything in my body said, "I don't want to be on the rope." All my Undertaker friends they're all going to make fun of me, and I've got to back it up and try to clear this. And he said, "We're going to roll." So took caution, and Sam got out and threw some rope, and we got up that first obstacle.
The dry lake bed, that was probably the smoothest part of that whole entire race course. It was perfect. We had the helicopter over us, so we knew we were really getting it. And then as soon as you cleared that dry lake bed, you went right back into the whoops, and it was just back to brutal. Your kidneys hurt, your back hurt, your head was bouncing around. Even with all the safety equipment in place, we were like, this is going to be the longest race of my life.
We were hitting the first part of the course, is nasty desert section. We were hitting that full speed. I broke a Heim joint at mile marker 19. Flipped the car around. We shot out a CV axle. Almost rolled the car. At that point we kind of thought, this is going to be rough to continue the race, but we were able to do a trail fix, and we used my winch cable, connected it to a knuckle, and used a hose clamp to strap the winch cable, and we used the winch cable to turn the car. So if I needed to go left, I pulled the winch cable in. If I needed to go right, I let it out, and we limped it the next 30-something miles to the first pit, and we were able to fix it and continue the race. We ended up catching up to the pack, and caught them in the rock section just like we planned, but we actually just ran out of time. So we pulled over after we radioed to our main pit, letting them know we were getting out of the vehicle. We'll be offline momentarily. We checked, and I realized that we sheared our track bar bracket from the frame side, and it was bittersweet because right then and there I felt like I was already out, but I put so much time to get there, so I wasn't ready to quit yet.
We were doing really good, picking off people here and there, and we got to the bypass, and we went up the rock section, and got to the top, and all of a sudden I couldn't steer. I lost my steering, and wow, this sucks.
We pushed it for another 10-15 miles before it snapped completely clean off the frame side. and I knew it because steering wheel was straight and tires went one way all the way.
If you're not at the top of your game and passing cars and that sort of thing, when you get out there after you do your fix, we rolled the year before and lost a bunch of time, so you get behind everybody and you're just dead bodies everywhere.
We worked our way up through the rock trails and made it pretty much through lap 2 with 0 issues. We pulled off some good passes in the rocks and out in the desert, and just kept it moving, which is the biggest thing out there. You just got to keep moving. You can't stop.
We came up on a friend of ours that had broke down on resolution and ended up having to drive over his hood to get around him. He was at just that point where you needed the whole trail, and he was blocking most of it.
We started seeing some white smoke, and rather than fear of losing the vehicle, we pulled off the side completely. We got out of the vehicle as quickly as possible because I was under pressure and the car was on fire.
Wayland made it up through, and we were trying to pull off a couple passes on spooners, and we got wedged in between 2 rocks pretty hard. And Alex Hardaway and Valerie were kind enough to stop and try to help us. And after about probably 15-20 minutes of them trying to help us, I just told them, you know what, just go ahead. I don't want to ruin your guys' race.
Everything's going smooth, really good, and we get into one of the canyons and get wedged. Out of everything that could possibly happen, you get wedged. You know, people roll over, break stuff, and you get wedged in between 2 rocks for a good 45 minutes.
I had Wayland in the car the whole time, and I told him to, you know, hey, jump out and give me an idea here, because I was out of ideas at that point.
It took us forever to try and figure out how to get it out. We tried every single which way. We had people pulling behind us, people pulling in front of us, off to the side, and finally just got that lucky break, and it just moved the rock just enough to get out.
I could hear Pitt through our helmets asking, are we okay, where we're at, status, let's roll main to car 4634, what's your update? And my brother and I knew exactly right then and there we were done. King of the Hammers conquered another vehicle, and it was ours, unfortunately. I remember sitting there on the side of the road for another 3 minutes before we said anything to the pit, because we weren't ready to accept defeat.
We made it through the rest of the rock trails into pit 2, and just for safety reasons of we didn't know what the problem was, we had to put a new rear drive shaft and 2 rear tires on the car, and our pit crew, they had us covered. They had the 2 tires ready, drive shaft ready to go. We pulled in, and we were out of there in less than 5 minutes.
You know, we were all bundled up. We had 8 or 9 guys out there, and it was brutal in remote pit. And we couldn't leave remote pit until Wayland and Ryan came through, because they were on the tail end of it. So we still had to stick it out until into the dark. We didn't get back into main camp till probably 10:30, 11 o'clock.
When we left pit 2A, it was everything we had. It was just, I was calling out directions to him best I could. There was cautions on the GPS, and we were just ignoring them. I told him, I said, you got to give it everything you got. And he did. The kid remained calm the entire race. He never got excited about anything. He never got too worried about anything. He never flipped out and just started aimlessly flooring it or slowing way down, you know, cautiously or anything. He just kept real calm. There was a couple times, you know, during that last stretch where he was saying he was tired. His arms hurt from cutting brakes and steering all day. I don't think he'd ever been in a race car longer than 2 or 3 hours before that. And at that point we were approaching, I think it was 11 hours, 12 hours or something. And he just kept pushing. And we finally made it up to the finish line, and he was so worried about if we made it or not. And I remember when we got to the finish line, the first thing he was happy about is his mom was waving the checkered flag, which was super cool. And then he ripped his helmet off instantly, and Dave Cole was standing there, and he said, did I finish? That's all he wanted to do was finish. And he finished, and I was just proud to be there with him.
Most memorable moment on the race day for the 2013 King of the Hammers Betterment Challenge would have to be pulling up to the start line.
Seeing the car come over the hill right before the start-finish line after completing the first lap, and seeing the car just totally destroyed.
No matter how much you overbuild your car, overbuild it, think you know, think you got it, the camera's going to find your weakest link, and it's going to exploit that. Yeah. for me, that was at mile marker 19 when we had our first race, and that challenge.
When I saw the car come over the hill, that was pretty much the most memorable moment because I thought that the day was over.
I passed Eric Miller in the Everyman Challenge. So we're pumped up and we're really excited about that. We come around the corner and there's Chocolate Thunder. You got Big Rich running the show, Josh yells hi, 30-pack Matt's yelling, and you turn and just look up through this wash and it's Chocolate Thunder. For me, that's where the race just kind of stopped and everything became surreal.
That last 20 miles, just pitch black outside, too light. Just that tiny road being as fast as the car will go. It's just like kept feeling like the roads were getting smaller and smaller as faster you went. And I know it freaked me out, but it was a blast.
Well, we had that'll be named Ragnar Robertson from Iceland running our car because we didn't have a really good LCQ. So he was on the lake bed, needed a ride, so we put him in the car for the start of the race and he was going to run the first lap.
I'd say the most memorable moment was actually getting to the finish line. It was a really long day, and I was just proud to be there and to be part of the team with Wayland and to actually get to the finish line. That was awesome.
Just knowing that all the hard work, determination, late nights in the garage, blood, sweat, tears, and empty pockets all finally paid off because I was able to roll up to the start line and watch that flag drop and get it.
No matter how much you do it, it's going to find that. Let me start that over. Let me start it over.
Really good. Talk to the big camera.
All right. Can I just say that one again? Yeah. All right, I'll just go with that same thing. But
That was good stuff. I like that.
So the most memorable experience for me, or most memorable.
We got the truck back together and I was able to finish the race through the last two.
That's ridiculous! I just said something really cool!
We didn't get to pre-run that way, and we finally saw the and then conversely, when I was coming, I need to smoke some more, don't I?
Miller, I need fluffage. I need fluffage. Everything was going great. That was awesome. I mean, I put that together well.
So one more time, as the whole race day as a whole, what?
Yeah.
Walk through the whole.
What was the most important?
Tell your story of the race and the impact.
Oh, okay. So the whole, we'll kind of go through the whole race, okay?
Blah blah me, blah blah I, blah blah the best, blah blah me. IFS.
I didn't have a backdoor strategy. I'm a backdoor virgin. Thank you very much.
What is King of the Hills?
We just kept moving, you know, worked our way up through the rock trails. Hey, Rob. Hey, tell them not to use the air tools. Made it all the way around lap 2 pretty clean. Just passing people where we could. Oh.
Just one more?
Okay.
Hey, it's a functioning shop, man.
So we worked our way up through the rock trails.
Doesn't get any questions.